Hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest 8-second gaming, and in today's video we are going to be talking about 5 tips to make you a better solo queue player. Solo queuing is one of the toughest things in Apex and a lot of people struggle with it, but don't worry, I'm here to help you out. But just quickly before we hop into things, if you're looking to take your Apex skill to the next level, then you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there we have top level coaches including myself creating the best, most highly informative guides to make you the best player you can possibly be. We have legend guides, gun guides, VOD reviews, and much more, so click the link in the description, pick yourself up a membership, and start to improve today. But okay, with that out of the way, let's hop into things and start off with tip number 1, and that is your legend choice. Now straight off the bat, obviously pick and play the legend that you have the most fun on. If you enjoy a legend, play that legend, but if you're looking to take the most optimal legend, you need to pick a legend that gives you one of 2 things. The first thing being a movement ability so you can get in and out of fights on your own. You cannot trust your teammates to get you out of fights or help you get into fights because it's solo queue. You can't trust them for anything. So if you can have an ability that gets out of fights or into fights by yourself, that is ideal. There are multiple legends that have this kind of ability: Octane, Wraith, Pathfinder, that kind of stuff. So if you're looking to have a movement ability like this, shop around a little bit, see which legend fits your playstyle the most, and then go with that legend. But the second thing is you want to pick a legend that gives passive information. Like I mentioned before, you can't trust your teammates to do anything, so you cannot trust that they are going to give callouts either. Yes, it is nice when your teammates are giving callouts, but in some games you're not going to have any communication whatsoever. So a legend that gives you passive information in fights is going to be very strong for solo queuing. Now for those of you that don't know what passive information is, it's just your character is able to gather information without really having to do anything. The best 2 examples of this in game are Revenant and Vantage. Revenant gives you a little marker on a legend whenever they go below 40 HP, so you know exactly who is low in a fight, and Vantage gives you information just by looking at someone. You can see how many people are alive on their team and what armor they have. So with that information, you can pick and choose fights a little bit better, because if you see somebody hiding in a corner, you'll know if that's a rat or not. Now there are multiple really strong choices for solo queuing, especially if you're looking for just a movement ability, but there are also legends that I do not recommend whatsoever. Legends that heavily rely on their team to get their maximum usefulness are not good pickups in solo queue. If you're playing a legend like Gibraltar, who is good on a lot of different team comps, but he relies heavily on his team in order to get in and out of situations and also be at his maximum usefulness, then that's not good for solo queue because you have to rely on your team. Another example is Crypto. Crypto is a fantastic legend. He is extremely strong in the right circumstances, but you have to play him exactly how Crypto wants to play. And if you're not in a 3 stack or even at minimum a 2 stack, then it can be very hard to put him into the circumstances that he's good in, and for solo queuing, it's just not a good spot to be in. But that is tip number 1 done, so let's move into tip number 2, and that is it's a marathon, not a sprint. Now this has been heavily emphasized this season with how slow they've made some of the rank climbs, and with the hidden MMR system that's in the game, it can be a lot more painful to climb. But you guys have to remember that ranked is a marathon. It's meant to be a climb throughout the entire season, and they took splits out, so it is the entire season. Now it can be really fun to get those really big pop-off games where you get a ton of LP afterwards, but as long as you are gaining consistent LP, that is really all that matters. If you're taking those small gains where you're getting plus 20, plus 30, plus 40, and you're not taking any negatives, then by the time that you reach your next big pop-off game where you're getting 200 plus, then you are getting a much more consistent climb, because if you get a really big pop-off game where you get like 200 plus points, but then the next game you lose points, and the next game you lose points, and the next game you lose points, you're not really going to be going anywhere because you're just constantly going at net zero. As long as you are going for the more consistent route where you're getting plus points every single game, it doesn't matter if you're getting these big pop-off games or small games, because it's all going to add up in the long run. So whenever you're in a game and you're trying to decide what you should do, take a deep breath, take that second to remind yourself it's a marathon and not risk your points. But that's tip number 2 done, so let's move into tip number 3, and that is don't be a hard IGL. Now when you are solo queuing, it's going to be very tempting to try and tell your teammates what to do. You want to lead them. You want to say, hey, this is a much better idea, let's do this instead. But when you're solo queuing, people don't like to listen. People don't like to be told what to do. So if you're trying to be that hard IGL, people are not going to react the way that you want them to. And in my experience, you actually receive a lot of pushback and people start to get a little bit stubborn and they might do stuff out of spite. Instead of being that hard IGL where you're just telling your teammates what to do, instead make suggestions. Be a soft IGL. When you start to communicate, don't say, let's go here, this is the best spot. Instead, say, what do you guys think about playing this spot? Or do you guys want to go play here? It's a more suggestive and opening way of communication, and instead of them being a little bit more aggressive about it, then you open up a little bit more communication with the team and they can put their input in. They might say, well, no, I actually don't want to play zone, I want to play edge, or they might agree with you, or they might even throw another idea out. But that is really good communication because then you know exactly what page they're on and you guys can start to work things out as a team. Solo queuing, it's going to be really hard to get on the same page as your team, so the more communication that goes this way is better for you. But that leads directly into tip number 4, and that is being flexible. Now right now in the meta, it's all about placement points. The higher you place in the game, the more points you're going to get. But just because that is the most ideal and consistent way to play doesn't mean that every single person is going to want to play that way. Everybody has their own idea of how you should play a game, and some people don't want to sit in zone all game. But as a solo queuer, it is your job to be flexible and start to mesh with how your team is going to play. Because more than likely they are a duo queue and you got matched in with them, so they're going to be on the same page with each other and they're going to be having the same ideas as each other. So you need to get on that wavelength with them and start to play how they're playing. You need to be flexible enough to change your playstyle on the fly and match it to what your team is playing. If they're trying to play hard edge, but you're trying to play hard zone, then you guys are going to be going in opposite directions. You're going to get split up. Some of you might get singled out and you're going to lose LP in the long run. It might be a little bit tough in the beginning to try and match your playstyle with what other people are going to be doing, but as soon as you get a little bit of practice in with it and you start to understand what people are going to be doing a little bit better, then it gets a lot easier. But now we can move into tip number 5, and that is to keep spirits high. Apex can be a very infuriating game. I have had my fair share of moments where I hit my keyboard out of frustration. But as a solo queuer, you need to keep your spirits high, because if your teammates do something that rubs you the wrong way or tilts you a little bit and you keep queuing into games and it keeps happening, all you're going to do is just continue to tilt more and more and more. And when you're tilting, you're making decisions based off of your emotions and not any logical reasoning. That leads to a lot of lost LP, and losing LP leads to you tilting even more, and that just continues the cycle. There are multiple different ways that you can keep yourself in high spirits. One very popular one is to just always be talking to your teammates and joking around with them, having a good time that way. But my personal favorite is to take a little break every now and then. If you're having a bad game, something goes wrong, as soon as it ends, get up, take a break. Go get a glass of water, go scroll some TikTok for a little bit, do whatever you can, take 5 to 10 minutes and just relax, reset, and when you get back on the game, it is a brand new slate. Nothing that happened before matters anymore. You are starting the grind again, brand new, ready to go. This can save a lot of LP in the long run, and trust me, it does work. And remember, like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint, so saving a little bit of LP one day can go a long way to keeping your spirits high, because you're not resetting all of the progress of the day, making you even more tilted and just stuff like that. But let me know your favorite solo queue tip in the comments down below. You might help somebody else out. And if you guys want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. Thanks all for watching once again, amazing game, and I'll see you guys in the next one.